Husband walks out on wife to start another family, when he finds out she's suffered a miscarriage. 6 months later, his begging to take her back. I still keep the pregnancy test in a felt pouch at the back of my sock drawer. 2 neat pink lines, as bright as birthday candle flames. I remember showing it to Jacob in our tiny bathroom, my hands shaking hard enough to blur the plastic window. He laughed, scooped me up, twirled me once, nearly smacked my head on the doorframe, and planted a kiss that tasted like mint and morning coffee. That night we spread baby name books across the bed. I circled Ella. Jacob voted Miles. We argued play funny about wallpaper colors, ducks versus hot air balloons, and fell asleep with the lamp still on, pages rustling whenever either of us breathed too deeply. Those were the paper dream days. Thin, bright, easy to fold into any shape we liked. 9 weeks in, I woke to a dull rain ache inside my body and a smear of crimson on the bedsheet. At the hospital the ultrasound screen glowed silver and silent. No heartbeat flicker. The tech's sympathetic whisper melted every bone in me. I remember Jacob's first reaction. He punched the vending machine because the chocolate bar snagged on the coil. Stupid thing, he snapped when I flinched. In the car he kept both hands strangling the wheel, eyes straight ahead, jaw working. I tried to touch his arm. He shook me off and muttered, "Not now." At home I curled on the couch with a blanket pulled to my chin. Time slowed to gelatin, hours wobbling, tasteless. I wanted Jacob's arms around me, but he paced the hallway instead, as if grief were an itch he could walk off. The next day he went back to work. On the 3rd day he stopped answering my texts except with one-word replies. On the 5th night he exploded because I hadn't emptied the dishwasher. My tears made him louder. Finally he grabbed a duffel, slammed the door, and shouted through the wood, "I need space. I'll call when I'm ready." He didn't say where he was going. He didn't say when he'd be back. Weeks crawled. I cancelled my social media apps because newborn photos popped like landmines. I quit my teaching job on medical leave and visited a therapist, Dr. Lowe, whose office smelled of eucalyptus and old books. She taught me to breathe into my ribs instead of my throat. At night I texted Jacob little updates. "I miss you. Doctor says we can try again one day. Please come home." Read receipts pinged. Answers never came. His parents claimed ignorance. Our mutual friend Kyle finally admitted Jacob wasn't crashing on any sofa he knew of. The silence grew loud enough to ring in my ears. One Tuesday afternoon, loneliness drove me to the grocery store just to hear chatter. Near the cereal aisle I bumped into MIA, who used to double date with us. Her eyes widened, sympathy pooling quick. She stammered that Jacob had been seen with a woman named Kara, new bartender at his favorite sports bar. He, looks happy, she added, as if that might comfort me. Happy? An image flashed. Jacob rubbing sun lotion on someone else's shoulders, laughing the laugh he once saved for me. My knees softened. I left the cart in the aisle and drove home on autopilot, throat tight as a fist. That night Dr. Lowe's breathing exercise barely dented the hurt. But somewhere under the ache, a tiny ember of anger glowed, warm enough to promise I wouldn't stay broken forever. Grief therapy became my scaffolding. I learned miscarriage statistics, journaled guilt onto paper until the letters blurred, attended a support group where women lit candles for babies who never learned to cry. Month 2, I donated the unopened packs of diapers to a shelter. Month 3, I chopped my hair to chin length, fresh, wind-tossed, mine. Month 4, I ran my first 5K, lungs burning but victory drunk. Month 5, I redecorated the spare room back to a study. No ducks, no balloons, just sun yellow paint and a corkboard of future trip postcards. Month 6, at a bookstore poetry night, I met Thomas. He wore mismatched socks and read a poem about repairing antique radios with his grandfather. When he finished, I realized I'd forgotten to breathe. Afterward he found me by the coffee urn. We talked restoration projects, childhood treehouses, why grief sometimes feels like carrying a stone you refuse to drop. His eyes held no judgment, only a quiet echo of my own healing. Over the next weeks we took slow walks, swapped memoir recommendations, respected pauses where old hurts lived. One evening under the string lights of Riverfront Cafe, he brushed my cheek with tentative fingers and asked, "Is this pace okay?" I nodded, heart steady instead of panicked. I wanted the future open, but I also wanted closure on the past. I needed divorce papers signed. I texted Jacob for the first time in months, need to discuss legal paperwork. Please call tomorrow? He replied within 10 minutes, first quick response since he left. Yes. Can we FaceTime? The next night his face filled my screen, gaunt, eyes ringed with sleepless bruises. Behind him, a bare mattress and peeling wallpaper. Not the cozy nest he vanished to in my nightmares. He didn't wait. Leah, I messed up. Kara cleaned out my savings and bolted. I've been living in weekly motels. I miss you. Can we start over? His voice cracked on over. Anger flared, but sadness too, ghost of the man I'd loved since freshman year. I steadied myself. Jacob, I'm sorry you're hurting. But I'm seeing someone kind. More important, I'm kind to myself now. I'm ready to move on. He swallowed. I was scared, after the miscarriage. I thought if I left first, it wouldn't hurt when everything fell apart. It already had, I said gently. Silence stretched. Finally I added, I'll email the paperwork. Please sign and send to the clerk. If you need therapy resources, I'll share Dr. Lowe's list. Goodbye, Jacob. He whispered something, maybe I love you, before the call ended. I set the phone down, lungs exhaling a weight I'd carried too long. I closed my eyes and pictured Thomas's mismatched socks, the way he listened like renovations take patience. Morning light slipped through the study's yellow walls and settled warm across my lap. The county courthouse sits on Main like a sandstone ship, all square windows and stern marble steps. I'd passed it 100 times, never noticing the brass letters over the door, Justice of the Peace, Family Division. On a breezy Thursday, file folder clutched to my ribs, I finally walked inside. A clerk in lavender glasses stamped forms with a thunk that sounded oddly cheerful. She glanced up, soft smile. Uncontested dissolution. I nodded, slid the packet across, every signature except Jacob's. The clerk pointed to a line. Final hearing may be waived if both parties file affidavit. Jacob had text agreed to waive. I handed over his emailed PDF, scribbled midnight from a motel in Wichita. Thunk. Stamp. She tucked the papers into a metal basket marked QA, New Beginnings. Someone in admin has a sense of humor, I thought. Outside, spring dogwoods flared white against perfect sky. My phone buzzed, a message from Thomas. Good luck today. I made lemon bars to celebrate paper freedom. No pressure to talk, just know I'm proud of you. Sweetness spilled through me. Not rescue, not fireworks, just steady, honey-warm support. I texted a selfie under the courthouse plaque, peace sign raised. It's done. Lemon bars sound perfect. Law says a divorce becomes official 30 days after filing when no party objects. My life turned into a gentle countdown. 30 days. I hung new curtains, sage green linen that billowed like calm seas. 25 days. Thomas helped attach floating shelves shaped like tree branches in the study. He whistled while he worked. My heart tapped harmony. 18 days. I attended my last miscarriage support session and rang the Hope Bell, a reclaimed brass bell patients ring when they feel ready to graduate therapy. The clang echoed bright. The group clapped. Dr. Lowe hugged me like a proud aunt. 10 days. Jacob emailed a scan of the judge's order of decree. He wrote only, signed and mailed original. Wishing you well. I felt a bittersweet tug, like finishing a novel whose ending you guessed but still mourn. 5 days. Thomas and I took a road trip to the state fair, ate ridiculous fried pickles, screamed on the Ferris wheel. When the gondola paused at the top he reached for my hand, asked softly, when your paperwork is final, may I call you my partner? I squeezed his fingers, felt no ghosts tugging. Yes. I'd like that. 0 days. An envelope arrived. White, embossed seal. I sliced it open alone in the kitchen. Decree absolute. I inhaled, folded it, slid it into the back of my sock drawer beside the felt pouch with the pink line test. Both artifacts of chapters closed. I texted Thomas one word, free. He replied with an address, meet me at Birch Park, 7 p.m. Birch Park at dusk smells of cut grass and barbecue smoke. Thomas waited under the gazebo, picnic blanket spread, citronella candle flickering. On the blanket, the lemon bars, 2 garden gnome mugs of hibiscus tea, and a small cedar box. He motioned me to sit. First item, dessert. We demolished bars, powdered sugar dusting our smiles. Second item, he said, sliding the cedar box toward me. My pulse leapt. Not a ring, too soon. Something else. I lifted the lid. Inside lay a folded set of architectural plans, tiny hand-drawn blueprints on cream vellum. It's the radio repair shop you told me you've always wanted to open, Thomas said. His voice trembled just a hair. I sketched my dream, an adjoining classroom where you could teach creative writing workshops. 2 wings, 1 roof. I traced the neat pencil lines, vision blurring. No diamonds, no spectacle, just a blueprint for lives woven side by side. This is beautiful, I whispered. I'm not ready to break ground tomorrow, but... He slipped a pencil behind my ear. We'll revise drafts until the foundation feels right. We toasted tea, watched fireflies blink neon Morse code across the grass. My shoulders lowered inch by inch, like armor unbuckling. 3 weeks later, a knock echoed through my still quiet hallway. Through the peephole, Jacob, thinner, cleaner shaven, holding a manila envelope. My stomach fluttered, but I opened the door. He offered a tentative smile, edge of shame. Could we talk 5 minutes? I nodded, gestured to the porch bench. We sat 3 feet apart like polite strangers. He handed me the envelope. Inside, a cashier's check, half the balance of our joint savings that he'd withdrawn without asking before he left. I gambled most of what Kara didn't take, he admitted, voice raspy. But therapy showed me restitution matters. I can't undo running away. This is what's left. It's yours. I set the envelope on the bench between us. Thank you. He stared across the street, eyes glassy. I saw Dr. Lowe twice. He huffed a breath. Turns out grief doesn't disappear if you sprint. A silence patted in. Finally he said, no agenda. I just wanted to apologize in person. And to return what I owe. I studied him, genuine remorse, but still shadows of old restlessness. Oddly, no anger flared. I only felt distance, like remembering a childhood street you moved away from. I forgive you, I said, surprising myself with how light the words felt. Take care of your healing. He nodded, stood, walked down the steps. Halfway to his car he turned, managed a small thankful wave. I returned it, then went indoors, envelope in hand, heart unburdened. Thomas and I celebrated Jacob's visit by not celebrating at all, just ordering Thai takeout and watching a documentary about rebuilding coral reefs. Halfway through, he paused the TV and said, do you feel, what's the word, closure? I considered. Closure is like finishing a puzzle and realizing the picture is different than the box art but still complete. He grinned. Poet. We clinked spring roll halves. The next morning I took the cashier's check to my credit union. The teller knew me from PTA bake sales and asked if I wanted to open a new chapter savings account. I laughed and said that was exactly the title I'd write on it. Later I called Dr. Lowe, told her about Jacob's visit. She said, forgiveness isn't a permission slip for past harm, it's permission for you to stop carrying someone else's rock. I scribbled that on a sticky note and pinned it to my corkboard beside a postcard of Santorini. Summer leaned into August. Thomas and I found a sunlit storefront downtown, high ceilings, brick walls begging for shelves of radio tubes and poetry chapbooks. Leasing agent raised an eyebrow at our two-part business idea, but enthusiasm, and a modest deposit, won him over. Opening date set for December. We spent Saturdays sanding reclaimed wood planks, laughing when the sander tickled our palms. Weeknights we drafted class syllabi, mixing creative prompts with soldering workshops. I marveled how effortlessly sadness could coexist with hope, like two plants sharing a pot, roots tangling without strangling. One humid evening, after a long paint session, Thomas reached into his toolbox and pulled a tiny velvet pouch. My breath caught, recognition of 3 years earlier. But he shook his head, smiled shy. Not that. Inside the pouch lay a vintage vacuum tube diode, glass gleaming. He'd etched our initials and the shop logo, second chance signals, on the base. Symbol, he said. Electrons change direction here, like us. My tears surprised me, all softness, no sorrow. I kissed him paint-smeared, whispered, yes to this whole circuit. What did you think of this story? Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments, and thanks for listening.